Spider-Man Far From Home was released in theaters last night, and I was lucky enough to go see it with a couple of friends. It was a wild ride and there's a lot to break down, which I'll do in this review and a couple more videos discussing the post-credit scenes and other interesting plot points. So with a huge spoiler warning, subscribe to Continuum, and let's get into it. Again, huge spoiler warning. Okay, so a quick overview before the nitty-gritty of the film. The movie is visually beautiful. There are amazing sets across Europe, excellent CGI, crazy, trippy illusion scenes, which were a fascinating spectacle to observe. The combat was handled shockingly well, considering there's no actual tangible villain to fight except some drones. And I really appreciated the moments where the classmates attempted to take down one of the drones. It's good to see side characters not being complete damsels in distress, and attempting to do what they can however limited it may be. Now on to the detail. The movie starts with a 90-second cold open. Mariah Hill and Fury are back, and on a mission where almost immediately the one and only Mysterio lands and says that classic trailer line, "You don't want any part of this." And then the film cuts to black. Confusion. The crowd's baffled. Then we get to see Peter back at school, adjusting to some of the ramifications of the snap, which they call the blip in the MCU, and the struggles Peter goes through with dealing with Tony's death, which I think was handled beautifully throughout the film. Even though the events were pretty morbid, and the consequences are rather dire, the movie has a very uplifting tone. It's consistently hysterical throughout, and there are many laugh-out-loud moments, and many cringy but funny classical teen moments. The nature of the film is Peter wanting to take a break from being Spider-Man because he has a serious case of FOMO, aka a huge fear of missing out, as his friends do all the typical teen stuff like partying, trips abroad, getting drunk and meeting girls. But just because Peter wants to take a break doesn't mean the villains will. And Peter realizes this throughout the film, that he can't deny the Spider-Man side of him and the essence of his character, which is to run to danger and always help. The plot of the film is very much based around Peter's naive, childish mind, wherein he's far too trusting, especially with those who could become father figures, as Mysterio did within hours of meeting him. So people have an issue with this since Peter has a genius level IQ, but I think it's acceptable since he is only 16 at this point, and the experience is what provides you with a high level of perception and the ability to discern who was trying to deceive you. It's not just your raw intelligence. So Quentin Beck, Gyllenhaal's character. He joins the MCU as a superhero, but exits the villain. Jake and Tom have great on-screen chemistry, and it really resonates, not just in the press tour of the film, but in every scene throughout the movie that they're together. They very quickly become close and synchronize in combat in what are very visually impressive CGI set pieces in Venice. There's a brief moment when they take down the fire elemental, which gives you a genuine concern that they're gonna kill off the Mysterio character in a heroic sacrifice, which would have been a really shocking plot twist which I wouldn't have expected, and almost wanted to happen just to see how they would handle the rest of the film. But this is quickly quelled down as he appears bruised but fine. The successful battle in Bond leads Peter to thinking Mysterio should be the holder of Stark's Edith technology, which is appropriately named Even Dead, I'm the Hero. Not sure how he decided that name though, because presumably he was still alive when he made that call. Anyway, so Peter, in all his naivety, gives this man Mysterio, who he's known for about 24 hours, the keys to the kingdom. Full control of a multi-billion-dollar program with killer drones, unlimited hacking potential, and God knows what else. And it's at this moment that some of the audience are like, ooh, this might be a bad idea. And sure enough, moments later it's confirmed Mysterio had been deceiving Peter. It's the first of two really big plot points during the film, and it's an intriguing yet questionable decision from Marvel, since the comic book Mysterio actually exists and has psychological illusion powers that are not technology-based. It's a smart development of the ramifications of developing incredibly powerful technology, which in corrupt hands could do serious damage, and without properly compensating those who worked on the technology, since Tony Stark takes all the credit for all the inventions at his company. My only issue with this decision is sometimes it's unclear how the illusion tech works. It seems as if they choreograph all the fight scenes in advance on a computer, but if that's the case, then it's unclear to me how on the fly, mid-battle, new animations appear. One can only assume that there's some form of Neuralink giving Quentin Beck the ability to project new illusions from his drones instantaneously. But then that makes me wonder why they needed the choreographed animation to begin with. This was a little unclear, and I wish Marvel had fleshed out the logic on it a bit more. Also, everyone was really excited about the introduction of a multiverse, but since Quinn and his nerd squad fabricated the Mysterio character and the idea of a multiverse, Marvel still technically hasn't introduced the multiverse into the MCU, which is a little bit disappointing, but it's okay since there are plenty of our movies which can do so. So, on another note, let's look at Peter's relationship with the characters, specifically his class. The school trip, which is the foundation for this movie to take place across Europe, the atmosphere is teen exploration, and I mean that in both the sexual and environmental sense. Ned and his sudden girlfriend are unbelievably cringy, but hilarious. Peter's infatuation with MJ is adorable and admirably innocent. If you can recall Homecoming, MJ makes a few facial expressions indicative of her suspicion of Peter being Spider-Man, as well as maybe a potential interest in him. And this persists throughout this film as well, until she eventually drops the bomb on him. Not the love bomb, but the Spider-Man bomb. This was one of my favorite scenes of the movie, as Peter tries to awkwardly diffuse this idea that MJ knows who he is. It's a really sweet scene and adds some good character development for the pair. Now, the school teachers are comically useless, which is great considering most teachers are anyway, and in a crazy situation like this, what would some $35,000 a year school teacher be able to do? Absolutely nothing, which is what they do in this movie. So on the whole, Far From Home is a really fun, visually impressive, comedic superhero rom-com, and is definitely worth a trip to the theaters to see. Is it better than Homecoming? Maybe. It fixes a lot of the issues Homecoming had, and the scale is much larger, making it feel more like an Avengers-level movie. So for me, it's a yes. But you could make a case that it's of similar, if not slightly worse quality, depending on what style of film you wanted. The setup for future Spider-Man movies was very strong and exciting, and really not what you expected, so I can't wait for this to be addressed in future MCU films, but I suppose we'll have to wait at least 2 years to see that. So there's a lot more to dive into with Far From Home, which I'll be doing in upcoming videos on post-credit scenes, and I'll look into some of the aspects of the film in more detail. Anyway, I've been Archer, subscribe to Continuum, and I'll see you all tomorrow for a Far From Home post-credit scenes breakdown.